So there's a lot of water here in the carpet. We're doing a weighted extraction here. We'll finish it up by using the typical carpet wand, which helps to remove an additional amount of water. So I'm going to show you the amount of water coming out of the carpet. Alright, so this is obviously where we got some water. We got a receptacle down below to catch it, and I'm going to try to put a hole in it so we can start draining that out. And there it is. Well, not near as much as I was expecting, but that'll help to get that drained out so we don't create a hazard with the drywall crumpling down on somebody before we get that cut out. Running? Alright, so we've already gone over with the weighted extraction. Now we're going back over with the carpet wand. What happens with the weighted extraction is it pulls the water up to the base yards and through the concrete, through the padding, through the carpet. Now you can see the difference that this makes even after we've done the weighted extraction. It's another step that really speeds up the dry time. This carpet has been wet probably based upon the smell for a couple days at least. You can really smell the bacteria in here. This isn't really fresh, so it's a category 2, so we definitely, with the length of time this may have been wet, we want to definitely get this dry as quickly as possible. The more water we can extract, the better. Thank you. Okay, so this is the, what in effect is the master bedroom. This is where Jerry sleeps. And so for tonight, we're going to leave him without equipment in here because he has nowhere else to go to sleep. So we're going to give him a chance to sleep in the relative quiet, and then we'll redistribute tomorrow. A little unusual, but you know, sometimes you have to accommodate the people that are in the home. We have set up a lot of equipment. My goal today is to get carpet dried out as much as possible. That's my goal. So we're going to work on carpet. Then we'll check the walls more carefully tomorrow, see if any demo needs to be done, and then we'll concentrate on drying them. But the porosity of walls is denser than the porosity of carpet. So if we're able to get the carpets almost completely dry today or into tomorrow, that will give us a much better chance of getting the walls dry and any cabinetry that might be wet as we create our moisture map. So the more moisture we remove from the low-lying fruit as it is only makes it that much easier for us to remove the more difficult moisture. So we've done most of the extraction now. Got a wet closet. The water sat for I'm assuming at least 2 or 3 days, so it's got a really pungent smell, and that may or may not delaminate the carpet. I'll leave that for somebody else to determine if I don't see anything to give me a clue on that. But as you can see, finishing up the extraction, got lots of equipment in here, air moving to try to dry the carpet. So this will end this segment, and we'll come back to a monitor and see about what kind of demolition is going to be necessary after we check for dry down tomorrow. All right, so we're at the end of day 1. The carpet is still largely wet. The relative humidity in the home is about 80%, and I'm going to start cutting walls. It turns out that a lot of the exterior walls are still quite wet. The biggest development that I noted was the ceiling in here had fallen, largely I'm sure from the waterway, and this one we drained last night. So I'm going to go through systematically and just remove the walls that are exterior walls that I can't dry otherwise to make sure we're getting dry in areas that need to be dried. Okay, so I'm getting ready to cut some walls here. And let's see. We're actually upwards of 2 feet high where it whipped up in this room. I'm going to go through room by room, but in this area, a lot of times I wouldn't cut interior walls, but we're going into the bathroom here, and we have 2 bathrooms stacked, and they were right at the point of where the water came down. So I'm gonna have to find a way to get air moving behind or under this vanity. In fact, I'll have to probably take this one out so that I can leave the other one in place and then get air moving behind the tubs. I'll show you that as I get to it. This is gonna take some time. It's just a process. You can see we chalked all the walls in preparation for making nice, straight, clean cuts. All right, so this is actually the master bath, and this is ground zero. Around this cavity right here is where the water actually came down from the ceiling. So we've got some openings there. It's interior walls. I opened up the kick plate underneath of the vanity on both vanities. So we're blowing air into there. Got an LGR in this bathroom. We're gonna move them around tomorrow, kind of concentrate on this bedroom. It's gotten dark now, so it's kind of hard to see, and there's no light in this room, but this is more or less ground zero. All the exterior walls in here were wet. I showed you before I moved an air mover to go behind the bathtubs. You can't really see it in this light. This is drying up nicely. Fan is good. So these interior walls, we're going to try to dry them in place. This is ground zero right here. So that wall there is open on the other side. This wall is open here. That wall there is open on the other side. And then we're going to have to deal with that tomorrow, but it's too cold right now and it's too late. So open. In the master bath, we have another LGR. We took off a lot of drywall in here right around the ground zero, as I mentioned. I took the kick plate out of there, and that wall right there is open on the other side, so I'm hoping to dry that in place. So you'll see the blue tape around. That's marking where the interior walls are wet too. We'll be checking that tomorrow. There's a lot of water in here. It must have sat for a couple days, so I'm going to dry this as very quickly as we can, obviously. Baseboards are removed from every wet wall. This is the second bedroom. That exterior wall was wet. Cut it. Right there is the gap behind the second tub. You can feel air moving under there. That should dry that exterior wall. This LGR has done a really good job of drying this room. I think we're real close. We're starting to get to the edge of where the water made it. This area is wet. What in effect is the master bedroom has somebody sleeping in there right now, so I'm gonna have to deal with that tomorrow. I took the baseboards down, and I don't believe the exterior walls are wet. And here we're just doing a little drying up against that wall there. I think it's pretty dry, just making sure those baseboards are dry. Coming into the living room, closing in on drying carpet, took the baseboards down. We have one exterior wall here, which we removed. It was pretty wet, as you can probably see right now. It's still pretty wet. Moving some air on that. That wall right there, we have the other wall in the bedroom opened up, so I'm not going to open up 2 walls, and it's an interior wall. The rest of these walls in the living room are dry, so we're dealing with carpet. And then we have this one closet up here, some wet walls in here. Took the baseboards down. We're going to let some air move on this wall as well, and on this carpet. We'll check in tomorrow. This is the master bath, and we had a LGR in here yesterday. We baked it in. Everything in here is dry, even under the vanity. We cut the wall over here to get the adjacent wall dry. The only place that was a little moist was right here, and this is the closet where the water came down. I'll show you that in a second. We made flood cuts in here. Had one spot over there wet, a little bit wet there. Carpet's still a little wet. We're gonna leave an LGR in this room overnight. We've overloaded the equipment a little bit just because of the amount of water that was here and the length of time. So we're 1 LGR heavy, and we want to be done tomorrow. That'll be day 3 since we were here. This is the closet. The water actually came down from here. We've sealed the penetration to the ceiling, removed all of the insulation that was wet, and then all of the wet drywall, and sealed the penetration so we could keep our heat in here and finish the drying process. All this is drying down. This bathroom is completely dry. I checked under the vanity. That wall right there is dry. And there's one little spot here that's still got a little moisture. We're going to check that tomorrow. We started to drill some holes below the baseboard line. We had significant dry down yesterday overnight, but we want to dry tomorrow. So we got holes below the baseboard. That allows for the contractor just to put the baseboards back. This room nearly dry. We had one wet spot over here and a wet spot in the corner here and over in the bathroom or the closet, and the carpet's still a little wet. Surprisingly, there was a tremendous amount of water in this home. So there's LGR number 2. LGR number 3 is in the hallway. We're focusing on the farthest point. This carpet was wet, but not as wet as the rest. We have a couple places we did drill some holes there, and over here to speed up dry down. The carpet is still a little moist in here, but the air movement should, with the LGRs, help that to happen. Utility room is dry. This closet is nearly dry. We are going into day 3 right now. This wall right here is drying, got some holes. And then that closet right there has an air mover in it. We're drying the carpet, and a little bit of the wall there is still wet. These walls in the living room are still wet. Got some holes to help speed up the dry time in there. Got the flood cuts here, still had a little moisture, gonna keep air movement there. And the carpet's still significantly wet, so we put an LGR number 4, keeping an air mover here in the spot. That's about it. We'll see you tomorrow. All right, so this is the end of day 4 drying here at 7459 Sanderling. Once again, I come in and I find the equipment, some of it is not running, and I was wondering why we were achieving slower dry down than I expected. I'm going to remove my equipment today. There's no sense in this.
No, I want to get this one away from it.
So we put some holes in the baseboards. I'm going to check those walls in a minute to see. Yesterday we came in, we had achieved most of the dry down with the exception of a couple of areas on the walls and some carpet. Overall, it's pretty well dry at this point, and we'll double check that. I'm going to clean up do a little more vacuuming on the carpet today and clean up the tile, mop it up. Had the majority of the back bedroom dry. There was a spot here on the wall that's carpet that was wet there, and some carpet that was wet here, and where the other air movers are. So that, I'm sure that's dry today. These machines are running. The hallway was dry. The only thing that wasn't quite dry was some of the wall here. Unfortunately, these are the machines that have been turned off. The bathroom right here at ground zero was dry. The hallway drywall here was still a little wet. Right on the corner here was still a little wet, and that little spot right there was still a little wet. This room was mostly dry except for a little spot in the carpet, so I believe that'll be dry. And we moved the dehumidifier into this room because we still had some wet carpet. This has been the room where Jerry sleeps in, and we have had a hard time keeping equipment in this room, so we'll check that. This is probably the area if there's still wetness. This is going to be it. Although surprisingly, the dehumidifier is still running. So I'm going to check it out. This is going to be the last day. I have no reason to leave the equipment in the house any longer. Okay, this is the final day. This is the end of the 4th day. The house is dry. We made some flood cuts, as you can see, in the master bedroom here, and this is the master bath. Got some flood cuts there. We popped out the kick plate, flood cut right there. This is ground zero, this little square right here. Both bathrooms and this closet is where All of the water came from the ceiling. We cut out that drywall and put up some barriers to help keep the heat in the house. The closet in here was so saturated that we had to tear out all the drywall. I had a little trouble keeping the machines running, so some of the drying in place I had intended to do wasn't able to be done. And this is the hall bath. We didn't have to cut out that drywall, had air blowing behind the tubs. Took out the kick plate here, and we've done our crude cleanup prior to reconstruction. Vacuuming, we also mopped the floors, cut out the hallway, and this closet right here was fine. We were able to dry it in place. Hallway here, cut out. Flood cuts in bedroom number 2. Put some holes as we showed you on a previous video. And finally in the bedroom, we put some holes, took the baseboard down. Everything else was dried in place. Living room, had to make some flood cuts on the wall here adjoining the hallway, and of course the exterior wall. And that's about it. The next stage is the rebuild stage, and after that a final cleanup.